Every spring, American garden centers sell millions of plants that look innocent and beautiful in a tiny 4-inch plastic pot. The tag says fast growing or excellent ground cover. What the tag does not tell you is that you are buying a garden-destroying monster. I know, because I bought them. I planted them in the ground, and I have spent years and hundreds of dollars trying to dig them out. These 9 invasive plants are my biggest regrets as a seasoned gardener. They will take over your yard, choke out the expensive perennials you actually care about, destroy your masonry, and ruin your soil. If you are going to buy them, you must understand exactly how to trap them. And the plant at number 7 is probably sitting in your neighbor's yard, creeping toward your property line right now. Before plant number 1, drop in the comments right now what U.S. state or region you are gardening in. Because an aggressive plant in Zone 4 can become a full-blown ecological disaster in Zone 8. I will be calling out specific climate zones throughout this entire video. Find yours and pay attention. Let's get into it. Plant number 1. Mint. Peppermint, spearmint, apple mint. It does not matter the variety. Planting mint directly in the ground is the single most common mistake made by enthusiastic new gardeners. Mint spreads through aggressive underground runners called rhizomes. When you plant it in a garden bed, it does not stay in a neat little clump. Within 2 seasons, it will run under your walkways, punch through landscape fabric, and completely suffocate every other herb or flower in the bed. If you try to pull it out, any tiny half-inch piece of root left in the soil will sprout into an entirely new plant. It is practically immortal. In zones 3 through 9, mint is fully cold-hardy and will return every spring wider and more aggressive than the year before. The fix: mint is an incredible, useful, fragrant herb, but it must be grown in solitary confinement. Put it in a 16-inch container on your patio. Do not put that container on top of garden soil, because the mint will send runners out the drainage holes and root itself into the ground. Keep the pot on solid concrete or a deck. Trap it, and enjoy it safely. Plant number 2. English ivy. Garden centers sell this as a romantic, classic vine to cover walls and trellises. I regret planting this more than almost anything else. English ivy does not just climb. It attaches itself using aerial rootlets that produce a glue-like substance. If you let it grow up a brick wall or a chimney, those roots force their way into the mortar. When you try to rip the ivy down, it pulls chunks of the masonry out with it. If you let it run along the ground, it forms a mat so thick that rainwater cannot reach the soil beneath it, killing your mature trees. Furthermore, it harbors rats, mice, and massive populations of mosquitoes. In zones 4 through 9, English ivy is an evergreen menace. In the Pacific Northwest and parts of the South, it is actively destroying native forests. If you love the cascading look of ivy, keep it strictly in a hanging basket or a tall, isolated patio container. Never, under any circumstances, let the trailing vines touch open ground. Plant number 3. Running bamboo. This is the plant that turns friendly neighbors into people who call lawyers. People buy bamboo because they want a fast, tall privacy screen. Running bamboo delivers that privacy, but it does not stop at your property line. The underground rhizomes can travel up to 20 feet in a single season, shooting up 15-foot stalks in the middle of your lawn, under your driveway, and straight into your neighbor's pristine flower beds. You cannot kill it with weed killer. You cannot pull it out by hand. Removing it usually requires a backhoe and excavating 3 feet of soil. In zones 5 through 10, running bamboo is a permanent, spreading nightmare. The container solution If you want the beautiful Zen aesthetic of bamboo on your patio, you must buy clumping bamboo, Fargesia, not running bamboo, Philostachys, and even then, plant it in a massive, heavy-duty, galvanized steel trough on a concrete pad. Never trust it in the ground. If you are still watching and you are not subscribed yet, here is what that actually means practically. YouTube will stop putting this content in your feed. Not slow down, stop. The algorithm only consistently delivers videos from channels it recognizes you follow. I release practical, experience-based container gardening content every single week. Content that saves you money, saves you time, and stops you from making massive mistakes that take years to fix. Hit subscribe right now. It is free. It will always be free. And it takes less time than it just took you to hear that. Plant number 4, chameleon plant, or Hotuinia. This plant looks incredibly beautiful in the nursery, featuring striking leaves striped with green, yellow, pink, and red. It is a trap. Once the chameleon plant establishes its roots in your garden bed, it spreads with a terrifying speed. It chokes out hostas, ferns, and native perennials. If you try to dig it up, the roots break apart easily, and every fragment generates a new plant. To make matters worse, when you crush the leaves or try to pull it by hand, the foliage releases a pungent odor that smells strongly of rotting fish and cheap citrus cleaner. In zones 5 through 9, this plant will survive hard freezes and extreme summer heat. The rule for chameleon plant: just do not buy it. But if you must have that colorful foliage, keep it in a glazed ceramic pot without drainage holes sitting inside a larger container, completely isolating it. Better yet, buy a variegated coleus instead. It gives you the exact same colorful look, but dies politely at the first frost. Plant number 5, trumpet vine. The nursery tag will tell you this is a magnificent, fast-growing vine that attracts hummingbirds. It is actually a structural liability. Trumpet vine grows so aggressively and becomes so heavy that it will literally crush wooden trellises, rip gutters off the side of your house, and pull down wooden fences under its sheer weight. The woody vines can grow to be several inches thick. Even worse, it sends out underground runners that pop up 10 to 15 feet away from the main plant. You will find trumpet vine growing out of the cracks in your driveway and suffocating your foundation shrubs. In zones 4 through 9, it is an absolute beast that survives drought, poor soil, and neglect. If you want hummingbirds, do not plant trumpet vine. Plant an agastache or a salvia in a container. If you have already planted trumpet vine, the only way to manage it is to ruthlessly prune it back to the main trunk every single winter, and prepare to mow over the underground suckers for the rest of your life. Plant number 6, lily of the valley. This is often sold as a charming, old-fashioned ground cover that produces highly fragrant, delicate white bells in the spring. What the tag leaves out is that lily of the valley forms an impenetrable mat of fibrous roots that strangles everything in its path. It will easily outcompete grass, hostas, and small shrubs. Once established in a shady garden bed, you essentially have to dig out and sift every inch of soil to get rid of it. Additionally, the entire plant, leaves, flowers, and the red berries it produces in the fall, is highly toxic to dogs, cats, and children. In zones 2 through 9, it is incredibly cold-hardy. It thrives in the deep shade where you usually want to plant expensive, delicate ferns. The container fix. Lily of the valley is actually a fantastic container plant. If you trap it in a 16-inch pot, it cannot spread. You get the incredible spring fragrance on your patio without the garden takeover, and the elevated container keeps the toxic leaves further away from pets. Think of one person in your life who just bought a new house, or someone who is about to go to the garden center this weekend to buy plants for their yard. They are going to see these plants, look at the pretty tags, and make a mistake they will regret for the next 5 years. Send this video to that person right now. You do not need a message, just the link. That one action could save them thousands of dollars in landscaping removal fees. Hit share. Do it before you forget. Plant number 7, Bishop's Weed, also known as snow on the mountain. This is the plant I warned you about at the beginning, and if your neighbor has it, you are in trouble. Garden centers sell the variegated version, green leaves with white edges, as a bright ground cover for shady areas. It spreads by highly aggressive underground rhizomes. Once it takes hold, it forms a dense canopy that shades out and kills any competing plants. It will creep under fences, jump garden borders, and infiltrate your lawn. Pulling it by hand is useless. If you leave half an inch of white root behind, it regrows instantly. In zones 4 through 9, it is virtually impossible to eradicate without professional-grade herbicides or complete soil excavation. If you see Bishop's Weed for sale, walk past it. If you inherited it when you bought your house, your best option is to aggressively mow it down. Cover the entire area with thick black plastic. Leave it in the baking sun for a full year to sterilize the soil, and start over. Plant number 8, Japanese Wisteria. It looks like a fairy tale in May, when the massive purple flower clusters drape over a pergola. By August, it is a nightmare. Japanese Wisteria is a twining vine that grows with terrifying speed, up to 10 feet in a single season. The vines are so strong and wrap so tightly that they will literally crush wooden support beams, twist iron railings out of shape, and strangle mature trees to death. It requires constant, aggressive, heavy-duty pruning twice a year just to keep it from destroying the structure it is climbing on. In zones 4 through 9, Japanese Wisteria is a massive liability. The container solution. Never plant Japanese Wisteria in the ground unless you are prepared to prune it like a part-time job. Instead, plant American Wisteria, Wisteria frutescens, in a massive, heavy wooden half-barrel container. The American variety is native, less aggressive, blooms beautifully, and by keeping it in a container, you stunt its root growth, which forces it to behave. Plant number 9, Creeping Bellflower. This plant often sneaks into your garden hidden inside the soil of other nursery plants, or is sold outright as a wildflower. It produces lovely, bell-shaped purple flowers on tall stalks, tricking you into thinking it is a polite perennial. Under the soil, it is growing massive, deep taproots that look like white carrots. It spreads by both aggressive root runners and thousands of seeds. It will weave itself directly into the root balls of your expensive peonies and hydrangeas, making it impossible to dig out without destroying the plant you actually want. In zones 3 through 9, it is one of the most frustrating weeds in North America. The rule for creeping bellflower. If you see it pop up in your yard, do not just rip the top off. You must dig down deeply with a shovel and extract the thick white tuber. Do not throw those tubers in your compost pile, because they will survive and infect your entire garden when you spread the compost next spring. Throw them directly in the municipal trash. We are not ending here, because knowing which invasive plants to avoid is only half the battle. If you want the beauty of aggressive spreaders without the destruction, you must know 3 specific secrets for trapping them. These are the container rules that allow you to grow aggressive plants safely. Secret number 1. Ground clearance is mandatory. You cannot put a container holding an aggressive plant like mint directly on garden soil or grass. The plant will send roots out the bottom drainage holes directly into the earth. Always elevate containers on pot feet, and place them on concrete, brick, or a wooden deck. If a root comes out the bottom, the air prunes it instantly. Secret number 2. Double potting is your insurance policy. If you must grow a highly aggressive plant, plant it in a cheap plastic nursery pot. Then, place that plastic pot inside a larger, heavier decorative ceramic pot. This creates a double wall of defense, preventing thick rhizomes from cracking a single expensive pot and escaping. Secret number 3. Aggressive plants need lean soil. When you put a fast-spreading invasive plant in rich, heavily fertilized compost, you are pouring gasoline on a fire. Use a lean, fast-draining mix of 50% basic potting soil, 30% perlite, and 20% sand. Make the plant work hard to survive, which naturally slows down its aggressive growth. I put all of these specific soil recipes, container trapping methods, and a list of the 50 best polite lazy perennials into the Complete Container Gardening Guide. The link to get it is the first thing in the description below. If you are in your 50s, 60s, or beyond, you have spent enough summers fighting invasive plants that you regret buying. Subscribe to Ancient Harvest right now. Tell me in the comments, what is the one plant you put in your garden that you deeply regret? I want to hear your horror stories. I will see you in the next one.